My name is Sally Ann Daly was my maiden name. I was born in Long Beach, California, October 28th, 1942 in St. Mary's Hospital.
Awesome.
My mom's name was Lorraine, Mary Lorraine Clark, and my dad's name was Harold Benedict Daly. I lived all my life, young life, in Long Beach. We lived on a street called Hoffman when I was really small. I have pictures of that, but I don't have any memories of that. For the most of my childhood, I lived at 835 Orizaba in Long Beach, California. It was an old frame house. I have pictures of the neighborhood. They were all kind of nice. I don't think they were that old at the time, but frame houses. Near me, right at the end of the block, was a circular park called Rose Park. So that's where I lived. There were 3 bedrooms, dining room, living room, kitchen, and a really big backyard, and a driveway with a little garage to the side. One of the things I really liked to do when I was a kid, speaking about the sidewalks, was skate. I loved skating. It was one of my favorite things to do. In those days, the skates were attached to your shoes, so that if it became separated from your shoe, down you went. And I remember a vivid memory of mine is that falling on my knees and skinning my knees. It hurt so badly, but it didn't stop me from skating. I would skate all around the block, and probably not in the street, not over to the park, but around the block was mostly what I did. And when I was little, I loved to play with dolls. I had many dolls. Well, my dad made a small frame dollhouse, not dollhouse, but playhouse. And my friends and I would play back there. It was kind of dusty because it was totally made of wood from an old building, I think. And also, I have a picture of myself in the backyard with my friends at my birthday party, and I'm all dressed up in a cowgirl suit with a gun. In those days, television was really new then, and so a lot of cowboy movies. Not that I enjoyed them, but that was what was on. Wrestling, roller derby, and cowboy movies.
Did you have any pets growing up? And if you did, what were their names? What were they?
Okay. My mom really liked Siamese cats, and so we had one Siamese cat named Sammy. And Siamese cats are a little different. You know, they're very noisy, and they're not terribly friendly. And then I had a series of, I had a blue point cat, and I had a frost point. These were all Siamese cat called Frosty. That was very original. But before that, I had a black cat, and she had little black kittens. Her name was Inky. And I remember coming back from a vacation I took with my grandparents, which I did that a lot because they had a trailer and we'd go to different campgrounds, and they were all gone, all of them. And my dad, you know, I pinned it on my dad in my head because no, they ran away. I don't think he would have, he might have given the kittens away, but I don't know what happened to the mother cat. So I lived on a street where cats could be killed, but I don't know, that was very sad for me. But I remember that cat, Inky, she liked to play in the water. When you get in the bathtub, we had an old-fashioned bathtub, and she almost liked to swim. And we had, our best dog was a black Cocker Spaniel. He was really beautiful. His name was Butch. No, I mostly played with my school friends. There were not a lot of kids on my street at all. And then I went to Catholic school, so that I think there were some kids across the street, but we never really played with them. I did have an adopted brother who was kind of a problem in my life. Early in my life, he just teased me a lot and things like that. But when I was really small, I had really long, really pretty dark brown hair, and he cut off half of it, which forced my mom to have to cut the whole thing off. But I would have friends over, and we would play in the dollhouses the playhouse, and it was mostly going to other kids, 1 or 2 other children's houses actually, and having friends over. We We didn't play in the street. We played in the backyard. My dad built a swing set and we played in that. Well, it scared the heck out of me. First when they started talking about your sins and confession, and it wasn't the right kind of introduction to religion for me. It was just scary, and the nuns were scary, and my brother had done something awful, and so I was probably known for that, and I was totally innocent of anything, but I did, I think, receive a good education, grounding in English and math. And I was thinking about it last night, and I realize now that probably, except for a few curves along the way when I was a little rebellious, I was probably one of the two best students at the school. And this was boys and girls, and boys were not, the girls were the brainy ones in my class anyway. But yeah, it was a little scary. There was one nice sister named Sister Patrice. She had the choir, and then there was Sister Mary Ellis, who was, I thought, a really mean person, and I had her for first grade right after Michael had her, and that was not a good experience. Not a good experience.
Like, did you do any acting while you were at Catholic school?
Yes, actually, I did. I was remembering that too. I was probably in the second grade, and a lot of girls in my class had started taking tap and ballet, and I was like a year behind, and I decided I wanted to take dancing. And so I can only remember more of the tap, although I like ballet better, but I remember tapping, and I remember there was once a really big show. I don't know, there was this one dance school or all, so everybody in my group were dressed as Dutch girls, and I remember that my ballet shoes were white, and everyone else had either black or pink, and I was standing out there, and I was also a year behind them in experience, but somewhere along the line they decided to do a play called Darby and Joan. I guess it's an old folk tale, and a lot of it is Darby and Joan, they couldn't leave each other alone. It's a married couple, and they fought a lot. And so I was picked, the shyest person probably there, to be Joan, because I remember the lines and I could actually put a little feeling into, which I don't remember anything about the play except that it was such a shock that here I was the star, which was really funny. And
did you kind of realize that you really liked doing that?
Well, I always was sitting in the bathtub later when I started reading plays, reciting plays and things. Yeah, I think I always imagined either that my life was being filmed, that I was in a movie. I was really influenced by movies. And yeah, I think it started then probably. And yeah, I wanted to be in the drama. When I was in high school, there was a drama section, people who did plays. But I was so weird in my own way that I didn't want to be weird in that way, so I never did any acting in high school. I was busy being rebellious, and yeah. So not horribly rebellious, but so I thought it'd be too weird, you know. They were weirder than they weren't weirder than me, but I thought they were. My mom was raised, I don't know whether religiously, but they were, I want to say Methodist, but I'm not sure. But not deeply religious. So she converted to Catholicism when she married my dad. I think just so they could get married, because you couldn't marry a non-Catholic. So what she really, really loved to do was sunbathe. She loved to lay in the sun, and she was probably as white as I am, but she took a tan really well, and she got really dark, and she was pretty lively, not as introverted as I am, maybe not introverted at all. But she's very small, not tall at all, and she loved babies. When my parents were first married, I believe that they had trouble conceiving and adopted my brother, and then my mom became pregnant. And I'm not sure if there's a problem with having more children or not, because I know she would have loved to. In fact, when I was maybe 10, there was a family with two little girls who really needed to be adopted, and somehow it didn't work out, but she really loved children. And at the end of her life, she was studying to be an LVN, and that was what she wanted to do, because I was in college, and she was in a fatal accident, so that was the end of that. And my dad loved to fish. He loved to go fishing and hunting. Yes, that was an issue. Eventually became an issue. I never said anything, but he would go deer hunting with his brothers, and that was just a way of life then, you know. And fishing didn't bother me so much. I went fishing with them sometimes to Big Bear Lake. We would go up there. There's a cabin up there, and I have a picture of Butch, the dog. But they would go to, I think, Utah to go hunting. And I remember him driving up the driveway with this dead. You always put the dead deer on the front of your car, and brought it home all that way. And I was just thinking, I don't like this. And then having the meat there and thinking, I'm not going to eat this, you know. So it didn't make me a vegetarian, but it certainly made me not want to support hunting. Also, we would go camping in Yosemite, which they like to do camping, not all the time, but like once a year. We would camp in tents and stuff. And when I started going just with my grandparents, they had a little travel trailer, and I'd go with them. But yeah, my dad was more quiet, I guess. He's the youngest of 5 brothers. Unfortunately, he was always defending Michael, who would always be in trouble, and she, you know, I think she was more realistic about it and wanted to do something more about it. Also, it was days of spankings, which I had one once, but you know, that didn't help anything. And eventually they sent my brother to a Catholic boys' school, which didn't help much either. But
where he
boarded.
But like when you were around them, did they seem like they were like in love, or
No.
like how did they
No,
kind of interact with each
People
other?
didn't act like that then, unless
You don't think?
No. Well, maybe they did, but not my house. My house, not very demonstrative. My mom probably, but not a very demonstrative situation.
Did they socialize with any groups, like maybe from your school, or did she have her own?
She more later on sort of broke away and had her own friends. If we ever socialized, it was with the uncles and cousins.
How did she? Where was the rest of her family then?
In Santa Ana. We would go like maybe once a week, drive over to Santa Ana, which was not far in those days, and visit my grandparents. And I would stay with my grandparents a lot too. My grandmother on my dad's side, I thought she really didn't like my mother, and she didn't. But they told me, a fellow sister-in-law of my mom said, no, she didn't like anybody. She didn't like any of them because they'd taken her boys away from her. And she was, I remember her trying to be nice, but you know, really hoping I'd have a boy. You know, because boys were all there was, you know. So, yeah. My dad was played semi-pro baseball with his brothers, and then a son of one of those brothers became a Yankee, became a professional baseball player. But yeah, they must have met in school. Happy. Well, just my mom loved me so much. You know, I had to be fond of her. And then my dad, he tried so hard after she was gone, just his support, and I don't think he really understood what I was about. You know, the path I took, and or he wanted me to go to college, and I don't think he really truly understood why I wanted to go into theater arts, but he was supportive about it. He paid for everything. I mean, he's always supportive in that way. Well, I think the first play I was in college was called He Who Gets Slapped, and it's it's by a Russian author, and it was done in the summer, and I had a very tiny part. First I was going to be the one half of a Siamese twin, but they realized that these other 2 girls were more the right size, similar size. So I was glad not to do that because I was worried about bathroom issues and things like that. So I was just a kind of a sexy waitress type. Wore a waitress type outfit, and they had hired a semi-famous. He ended up hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but it was a program where they gave away $1 million, and he was sort of a semi-retired, not very good actor, and they hired him to be the lead in this play. And he was always hitting on all the girls, so I just avoided him. But it was kind of fun, and a lot of really neat costumes. I probably worked on the costumes too. I did a lot of working on costumes and painting sets and stuff. And then I was also in we did a children's production of Beauty and the Beast. I was one of the sisters. And I do remember when they were measuring me they had to be really tight. Usually theatrical costumes are tight, and they couldn't believe how tiny the pieces they had to make because I was really tiny in the middle. And so the director decided that the two of us did not have to be the ugly stepsisters. We could just be the stepsisters. So that was good. And that was fun. And then a disappointment was we did a production of Macbeth, and two of my friends, really good friends, got to be two of the witches. And I guess that I just wasn't witchy enough, you know. And plus I think they needed a speech major in there, you know, to spread it around. But I did work on the props in that, and it was pretty dangerous. You'd have to close your eyes and make sure you could see in the dark, and then walk up all these steps to put the prop there. And that was fun. I really liked that, and I really, really, really liked working on the lighting board. But nowadays, I think it's completely different, and you don't have to have as much skill. But also, what else was it? Oh yeah, my big thing was I was in Shadow of a Gunman, where I first met Martin Benson, who went on to found the acting company that I was in, and I played, it was Sean O'Casey, and my name was Minnie Powell, and I think I died. Yes, I think I died, not on stage, but she's a Republican, and she's for the cause, and she's trying to get this man she's interested in to join the cause. And you know, you had to have an Irish accent, and it was really, really fun. So I think those are really productions that I worked on a lot of them, sewing costumes and backstage, but those are the plays that I was in college.
And what was that, would you say that last one you mentioned was your favorite role that you did in college?
In college, oh yeah, the biggest.
Yeah, yeah. What other parts about being in the drama major did you enjoy?
I liked being different, and I liked the fact that we could hang out at the theater. It was right next to the music department, the art department, and we thought the weirdos were the music people. I don't know why, but once I had to take a costuming class, and I got to go to the art department, and that was fun. So I kind of was drawn there, but not really. And yeah, having our own space, and trying out and actually getting a part, and our theater where we did Shadow of a Gunman was it was done by the master's students, so it was in this other little tiny theater down at the bottom of the campus, and that was fun because it was really like a real theater, not a big old theater like the big stage. It was just fun. It was just fun. I could come out of myself because I always was a pretty shy person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was maybe a junior, a fellow named Martin Benson came to Long Beach State. He'd gone to San Francisco State, and he was getting his master's degree at Long Beach. And so I was in one of his plays at Shadow of a Gunman. Lana, my friend Lana, and I were very interested in that, and Lana became Martin's girlfriend. So anyway, when we started the company, I was still in school. Lana had graduated, I think, and he was friends with a guy named David Ems, who they had gone to San Francisco State together. And David taught, I think, at Long Beach City College, and had a family, but Martin was just free. So he gathered together some male actors that had moved down here, and then he needed girls, so Lana and I, and then these two other girls joined the company, and when we first started, we traveled around with a production of Tartuffe, and it was really fun. We went to this one, Ebell Theater in Long Beach, and it's this really giant space, and we go around to colleges, and it's very improvisational, and it was really fun. And I was always a sweet young thing, and my friend Lana was kind of the crabby servant type person, and sometimes the other actors wore masks because it was Commedia dell'arte style, and we'd travel in my mom's. By then I lost my mom, and so I kind of inherited her station wagon, so we travel around the station wagon, we go to laundromats and wash the clothes. And I think at that time John Took and Leslie, his wife, I forget her last name, but they were married, were in the company too. We were in residence at a theater in Long Beach, which was a really old, falling down place. And the lights would always go out in the middle of productions, and it was very chaotic. So there we did a production of The Hostage. And in that first production of The Hostage, I was a prostitute. And I just go across the stage and had one line, and it takes place in a bar. And strangely enough, the next year I was the sweet young thing who got to sing. So I mean, I moved my way up from call girl. But anyway, we did The Hostage, and we did Major Barbara. And I was what do you call that when you're not when you're the replacement? Understudy. Understudied this one kind of good part, but I was also like some body in it. I didn't have a real part in that one. And I'm not sure if we did something else that year too. But my best parts there were The Hostage and Juno and the Paycock, which is another Irish play. That was really enjoyable. I liked doing that. But you really had to be mowed, and I was really holding back kind of thing. I think I could do it now, but I have to age myself down about 50 years. So then after Long Beach, when we didn't have a home, and people in the company lived in this house, this awful house, sort of near the theater, and then I lived at home because I still was living at home. And then we had a sewing place down at the Pike, which is this place down by the water. We rented a little room. I don't even know why we didn't. I guess we didn't have room to sew, so we're always sewing away. But after that, we got us. It was an old fishing tackle shop in Costa Mesa, and that was our first step theater. And I think it was had belonged to David M's stepfather. So it's in kind of a posh area, but in really dumb location. And we did The Hostage there, I think. But while we were doing that, we were also performing in Laguna Beach. So that's where we did The Hostage. And that was an old falling down theater too, which is gone now, sadly. It was great. It was a really great old theater. And you were always running splinters into your feet in the backstage because it was so old. But
you were mentioning that the theater company you were involved with became super successful.
Very successful. They won a Tony for regional theater one year, I think. And they've done a lot of, I've noticed, because I'm not in touch, but they've done a lot of premieres of plays. So they're very well thought of. They have students, and they have children's theater, and they have, I think, 2 theaters, one really large one. Well, a lot of the people, in order to stay acting, because at one point when I was still there, we started paying some actors. We joined, I can't remember the name of the acting guild yet right now, but so we couldn't be paid. So a lot of people became social workers, strangely enough. And you didn't need anything but a bachelor's degree at that time. So I became a very, very bad social worker. I really was awful because I'm not organized. I was afraid. People intimidated me. I was way too young to have any kind of, although my friend Lana did it really well, and she's a tiny person, but she's organized and, didn't worry about it. I think I worried too much. But, yeah.
And you, during this time, you still were acting, but you were
Yes,
doing
oh,
that on the
definitely.
side,
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Acting was way more important than
To you, yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
That is where I met Grandpa. Mainly because we were on strike. Right? We were on strike. And Tim is a big believer in workers' rights. So we would parade around with our signs. So that's where, and then he and his friend Wally
Richard, too.
and Rich. Oh yeah, that was really the connection. Richard Riekow was a member of the company, so he became a social worker, as did Martin and Lana and me. And so I think that Tim and Wally and Richard would, go out drinking and stuff. So we sort of would get a drink afterwards, and I was always impressed with Tim because he always wanted to pay, which wasn't always my experience with people. Although I didn't go out drinking very much, but anyway, yeah. So at one point, Lana and I decided we needed to quit doing that job, or at least I was not an adequate social worker. I felt bad for my clients. That we were going to quit, so Tim decided that he would. We were going to dance out the door, and so we sort of lamely danced out the door on our last day, and Tim joined us. But then Tim started coming around. He would come and visit me, and one thing led to another.
So he would visit you at the theater
My
company
house,
or your
my
house?
house.
Okay. And he met your dad and everything?
Yeah. He would come, and my dad didn't. I'm sure he thought, I don't know what he thought. We never went anywhere. Well, I, as many of my offspring, didn't ever really date, But I do remember Tim taking me to his brother's apartment, where I met his brother. His brother wasn't there. Brother and sister-in-law, Gary and Susan's house, where they had a raccoon. And I met the raccoon. And then once we went up to his house at DeLuna, and Shannon was there. So that's how I met some of his family. I was not introduced formally to his family until I was married and pregnant. So that was the way that went. So anyway, this really, I felt that this was that I'd been betrayed. The Tartuffe that we had done, they were going to do it at there's this really big theater in Newport Beach, or in that area. And so I was not as active a member of the company as at that time. And so the girlfriend of the man who was my counterpart got to play the part that was my part. So the only time Tim ever came to our theater was to see that, and to see my friend Lana in something. Never saw me act, which really made me mad. But I mean, he could control that, I guess. But
so he never got to see you?
No. I think Lana and I decided we wanted to go to Europe, and Tim decided, well, he'd go along, and because he'd always wanted to go to Spain. We actually saw some of the theaters, the Abbey Theater, and places that that had inspired me. We went to.
And you brought Tim along?
We brought him along. No, we agreed to drive a car across the United States to New Jersey or New York? New York. And so it was supposed to be just one person. So Tim can tell the story better because I don't remember it that well. But we had to pretend we hadn't been with Tim as he drove the car across the United States. This was being driven to the owner's house, or to a new owner. But I guess we got away with that. So then that night we spent in a very famous hotel, kind of hippie hotel, called, I can't remember.
In New York?
Yes. I think John Lennon stayed there or something. But so it was a big hotel, and we just had one room. I mean, we're very unsophisticated people, and people do have one room for 3 or 4 people. But
were you like 24?
Yeah, probably 23, because 23 or 24, I think. In the middle of the night, there was this pounding on the door, and I guess it was a hotel where they had call girls, and they shifted rooms, and we did them. But so yeah, we did that, and then we went to Philadelphia and saw some of the the statues and things there at night, and then we pretty rapidly left for Europe. We went on Aer Lingus, and we arrived in Ireland and had a severe jet lag. Ireland was a revelation. It was beautiful. We drove around a lot. To Dingle, we saw Dingle. Saw a lot of really hairy horses, donkeys with a lot of fur, sheep, things. And when we were on the ferry from Ireland to France, it was at Glendalough. The immigration officer questioned us all about, she thought we were Irish people leaving for emigrating away from Ireland, which I thought was really funny. And the one ferry that we were on, I think we were on it at night, and it was really rocky and scary and big. I guess it was the one from Glendalough, because you only would have. Oh wait, we went on one ferry from Ireland to England, then we went on another ferry from England to France. So that was. I remember sitting looking at the Shannon River. I remember Dingle being really pretty. Glendalough was very beautiful. While we were there, when I was a kid, my mom had been the housekeeper at the rectory of St. Matthew's, where I went to school. And one of the priests there was Father Green, and he had gone back to Ireland. So he took us around, which was really fun. He rented a hotel room. We all went there and drank, not a lot, but drank, and he commiserated with me about my mom. When we were in Spain, we were in Madrid, I think. At first, we went to Madrid first. Well, we had gone on that ferry to France. So we were in France a while, not very long because we were trying to get to Spain. So we were on a train to Spain, and on the border, we had to get off the train, and we were laying on top of our suitcases for some reason. The next train wasn't coming or something, so we got on there. And I wasn't feeling that great, and so we were in Madrid, and we were staying in a hotel where there were accommodations for all three of us. And I realized I was pregnant, or probably I didn't feel good. I didn't feel well. So we went to no. I found that out in England because there's socialized medicine, so I knew it. I already knew. And I had fallen down some stairs, so I thought, oh my God. So anyway, by Madrid, I went to a doctor and talked to the doctor, who was kind of disrespectful, not great. And so we knew that probably Alana would leave us and we'd stay there. But so we went to Malaga, which is where we were for most of the time. But before that, we went to the Rock of Gibraltar, to the American consul in, I'm not sure, Madrid or Malaga. Madrid. And they couldn't help us, so they suggested we go to Gibraltar, where there was authority to marry us. I think in Spain we couldn't get married by the Spanish because you had to both be Catholics, or there was a lot of rigmarole if you didn't. So we went to the Rock of Gibraltar, and I purchased a soft white dress and a thing that had, I had this, I don't know what you call them now, I don't know what you call them then, but it was a wig thing that I attached, made it look, because I had short hair, made it look like I had long hair, and we took some pictures, and Lana must have taken the pictures because there was no one else to do it. So pretty soon after that, Lana departed, I forgot to say that we were staying at this boarding house in Ireland, which is probably where Megan came into being, and there was a bathroom downstairs, and with a big bathtub, and so I took a bath, and then I found I had locked myself in.
Oh no!
And somehow I made enough noise that they came to rescue me. But yeah, and I think that at one point in Ireland, Tim was sick because Lana and I went out to this kind of fancy restaurant, and we had this really nice girl, or tea house or tea place, and we left her, I don't know, a huge amount of money as a tip, just for laughs, you know. And,
So, are you still friends with her, or did you still friends with her?
no.
Was that like the last time you guys saw each other? Or?
No, we had dinner with Lana and Wally after we got back.
Okay, so you guys got married on Gibraltar.
The Rock of Gibraltar.
On the Rock of Gibraltar. Were you nervous?
I don't remember.
You remember feeling?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It just seemed like unnecessary.
And why? Because of the pregnancy?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Keeping it real.
I am.
Well, I guess we can kind of move on to the... So you guys came back, and then how did you tell people did you just tell people like we got married, or?
Yeah, from there.
Okay.
It's
What about
easier
your
that
dad? Like, how?
It was, I think I wrote to him.
Okay.
Because there was no email and stuff like that then, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it caused, well, he can tell you about that, but it caused some confusion in his family. Because they never met me. And I think his grandma thought I was Spanish.
Oh, okay.
And all my Catholic, you know, there was a shower and stuff, but I didn't see too much of my family after I got back, my extended family, because I never saw that much of them anyway. When we got back from Europe, everything was so different in Southern California, and I started thinking about my experiences in school and sitting at a desk and just the way I was taught, and I just didn't want it for them. I mean, I think it would be ideal if they never had to go to school, you know, but I didn't have it in me to do homeschooling, you know, but our society is such you almost have to go have some kind of training like that. So, and it was beautiful up here, and it was more Margaret chose the spot. I mean, we just wanted to get out of there, and she was drawn somehow to Sonoma County, so they bought a piece of property up here, and that is why we moved to this particular place. Yeah. So yeah, it was hard in the beginning, and it's always been kind of hard, but you know, it's preferable to living in a little box down in Southern California.
Can you see the stars at night?
You can see the stars at night. You can hear the owls at night. Yep. I was completely unprepared to be a parent, and I can't really say. I mean, it's hard. Just wanted them to be happy and secure, but I can't say that anything guided me at all. You know, I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have a plan. I think it's good to know how it's going to be.
The Wizard of Oz and Winnie the Pooh. What was that like?
Very question.
It was fun. It was. I felt a little odd when Carrie was Winnie the Pooh, because there was this other girl who really liked to act and who came from kind of an acting thing, and I had to make Carrie be Winnie the Pooh. I felt a little odd there, but I had a lot of help from Carol, may she rest in peace, Frick, who played piano really well, and so that was pretty successful. And Megan and Carrie were both in Wizard of Oz. That was fun. Megan was Glinda, and Carrie was the Scarecrow, and it was fun. It was. I wish we could have done more performances of them, because they were so good. Mike's class came to see a couple of them before. This was before Molly was. Well, part of the time they got along really beautifully, and then sometimes there'd be fighting, which I think that's a big fault of mine. I really find conflict hard to deal with. I mean, with kids at school and with them, and so that I don't think I always dealt with it probably as well as I could have. But for the most part, they got along really beautifully and did the same things, and were interested in pretty much. I mean, they did a lot of play out in the back of beyond.
Mm-hmm.
They played in the forest a lot. And there's probably a lot I don't know, but I mean, I always wanted them to be physically safe, which is really kind of surprising given the life they led, because a lot of us outside with there weren't any bears around then, I don't think. But yeah, it was, and then people would think they were twins. I was talking to the Carrie's girls, and people always think, and you think, no, they look at the height difference, they don't look alike, but yeah, it was fun. That's why I wanted another one. At first it was great. They were just really proud of their little sister. They hold her and all that. But she ended up having to go to dances and football, basketball games, and that was fun. I always wished there'd been one other so that she could have had a companion. But they were always sweet with her, and yeah, it was. And I think she had probably too many adult influences in her life, which sort of manifested themselves in different ways. That she was not as innocent in her mind. I mean, as they were just out playing with dolls when they were 12, and she saw her teenage sisters, and so she was a little different in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to do it. She kind of wanted to do it, and I think she really enjoyed it when she was doing it, but I don't think she's like me. And maybe she could do it now too, and maybe I could too, but she just couldn't let go. And so that in performances she wasn't as, she couldn't give it her all as much. But she was very flexible and a really nice dancer. And what I enjoyed about it was we did a lot of, the mothers did a lot of costuming and a lot of backstage work. And of course that called to me, So I think by the end I was way more attached to it than she was. And she made the right decision quitting. She really didn't want to be around those girls anymore. And I think, I was way more invested in it than she was. And I'm really glad that she stopped. But I wish she could, she's taken a few since then, taken a few classes, and I think it's a good outlet, and she was good at it. So.
Carrie wanted to know, do you remember that we already talked about this a little off camera, but the recipe for the one egg cake?
I don't. I wish she would. I can't. I wish she would describe it to me, because I absolutely can't remember it. And we were only really in a situation where that would be possible when we lived on Mara Road, which is the place we lived in this little house. Which would have been where I would have been baking stuff, because since then it's been like microwave and toaster oven. But I can't remember. Maybe we made it at Grandma's. I just one egg. I'm not a baker. I did try some pies once and a few cakes, but not good at it.
What about the yogurt a day?
Maybe I decided that they should have a yogurt a day.
No, we would eat.
Oh.
Frozen yogurt a day.
You would go we'd get really excited. We'd go off to like a cheap place for food, and you'd buy 12 yogurts, but we can only have one a day because you didn't want us to eat them all at once. And so we would freeze them and eat one a day as like a dessert.
Frozen yogurt is better though, yeah. Oh, I also remember once we lived with Grandma and Grandpa, and we lived in the Dome, that they decided they wanted to make some fortune cookies. And so, who wants to make, it was in a book. And so, it's sort of a wafer thing. So they had them all, and they were wrapped in dish towels or something. And so they were up in the freezer, and one day I went to look, and they were all gone. Every single one of them was gone. Megan can tell you her version. And then one time, Shoshana, who was a friend of both the girls, but she was Megan's age, so they were friends, and then Carrie was also her friend. they ate, I think, a whole bottle of vitamin C
Oh god.
because they thought it tasted good.